Welcome to Education Talks. I'm David Burke. Stephanie Lill, known to friends as Lily, began her educational career in 2006, teaching English at a summer camp in Italy. Today, she is the founder and CEO of Mindful Sparks, an organisation dedicated to providing mindfulness-based training and workshops for educators, students and school communities. An experienced educator with a deep expertise in curriculum development, child protection, yoga and meditation, Lily aims to equip participants with practical tools to integrate mindfulness into their daily lives, enhancing well-being across global educational settings. Well, Lily, welcome to Education Talks. It's great to have you here. Where are you joining us from?
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm here in Bangkok, Thailand. I've been here about 7 years now.
Great place to call home. It's great to have you here. I'm wondering if you can start off by telling us a little bit about your journey from teaching ESL in Italy to starting Mindful Sparks.
Sure. I mean, it's a very convoluted journey, and what started off, a friend messaged me one summer and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity to go to Italy for 2 weeks to teach in a summer school. Do you want to do it?" Sure, why not? Right? This was 2006. So this was a while ago. And I went, and it was wonderful, and we stayed with these families, and we got to experience, I'd never been to Italy before, got to experience the culture and then the country and the food, and it was wonderful. And I left just thinking teaching is the worst job ever, and I don't know why anybody would want to do that. Like, it's so difficult and it's so hard, and I would never want to do that again. I'm glad I had my 2 weeks, and I got to see Italy, and that was great. And fast forward, a bit of reflection, a bit of distance between the summer camp and happened. And I was like, actually, that was kind of cool. You start remembering all the little good bits, like the moment the kid got something, or the moment like the quiet kid began to speak, and that connection you made with your colleagues. And, so I went back the next year and had an absolutely amazing time again. And that set me on a trajectory into ESL teaching. Moved to China. Then I moved actually to Bangkok originally in 2009. Continued in ESL for a while, this time teaching adults, which was a very different experience, equally as amazing, equally as challenging and as enjoyable. And then I moved into actually kind of more like, if you want to call it, like the corporate side of it. So working for EF, which is, one of the biggest online language schools for English Town. And it was teacher training, curriculum design, like the back end, if you want to call it, of kind of teaching. And I wanted to try more of that kind of Monday to Friday job. Amazing. I got to work with colleagues all over the world, learned all these different cultures, learned different ways of doing things. But I realized that I was missing the kids. I was missing the classroom. So that's when I got my PGCE, went back into the classroom, started working in international schools. And then on my journey in international schools, because of, quote unquote, the way I was with the kids, I always got the challenging classes, and I hate that term, and I hate that people see kids and classes in that light. But that definitely fast forwarded me on a trajectory of really looking at social emotional learning, understanding what's happening, why are we having so many conflicts in the class, why are we having so many challenges with our friendships, where's the underlying root cause of all of this. And that kind of coincided with my personal journey as well, of going into yoga, meditation, and then slowly just bringing those aspects into the classroom. Begin to notice a few changes. It wasn't overnight. We didn't miraculously all become the happiest, kindest human beings in the world, but you could begin to see change happening with the kids, the way they engaged with each other, the way they engaged with themselves, the way they engaged with the adults. And then you started getting emails from parents just being like, "I really want to thank you because my kid's so much happier now. That we're having less arguments at home now. We're able to talk better." And that's kind of where it all began. Then I started moving into pastoral care, like well-being in schools. I worked on the child protection team at an international school here as well, as one of the DSL on that team. And I started to realize like how important it is for people to be able to understand what they're experiencing and how that impacts the world around them. and how they engage with the world around them. And also there was equally a lack of understanding of how to communicate their needs in a way that could be heard, you know, in a concise way, in a accurate way. And that's where it all kind of started, really.
So what led you to explore different roles, like working at UNESCO, teaching yoga, and then on, of course, on to developing mindfulness curriculums? Can you share a bit about that?
Sure. So actually the first kind of deviation, I guess, from teaching was yoga and meditation. And that just came at a time in my life, like I was part of a gym. This is when I lived in Shanghai, Chinese gym, a local gym. And we could get to go to the classes. And there was just this amazing yoga teacher, this guy from Shanghai. My Mandarin wasn't very good at the time, so a lot of it was just look and follow. But over time, like I was beginning to pick up words and understand a bit more. And it just really hooked me. And he was just so wonderful. Like genuinely, I would say he's one of those people that there's people in your lives that kind of gently push you in a different trajectory, and that was him. So yeah, that kind of started happening, and I just really enjoyed it. And I was like, this is something I want to do for me. So I went and got qualified and went to some silent meditation retreats, built up my hours doing that. So that was more for me, but then I could see how that can, at the time, I didn't really know about mindfulness. The word wasn't really that big in education. It was more kind of like PSHE or values education, things like that. But I started dropping little bits in, breathing exercises, you know, language into the classroom. And I was like, this is something. I don't know what it is yet, but it's something, you know. In regards to UNESCO, when I was doing my master's, there's an opportunity when you're doing your master's, you can intern with them. And it's been a childhood dream to work for the UN, honestly. And the opportunity came up, and I was working in a department, Education for Sustainable Development, which is also very dear to my heart as well. And, you know, we worked in the Asia Pacific region. So one of my big tasks while I was there was to look at teacher training within the region and the routes. You know, if you decide you want to become a teacher in like Nepal or Uzbekistan or Indonesia, how do you do that? Like, what's the journey that you go on? And when you are qualified, where's the support? What do you get in addition to that? You know, and how does it work in terms of improving your teaching career? So that was super interesting. It gave me lots of insights. And it was just a really, really great opportunity. It was an internship, so there was no opportunity for full-time employment after that. And equally, I was like, I still miss the classroom. I'm not quite ready for this yet. You know, like I would love to explore it again, maybe later. But for now, I was like, no, I want to be back in the classroom. And honestly, if you bring all of these different life experiences together, it was only around 2019 that I started thinking, all of these little jigsaw pieces are beginning. I can kind of see a picture, but I'm not sure what it is yet, but I can kind of see like the importance of teacher support and teacher training. I can see the importance of, you know, breath work and taking those pauses in meditation. I've seen the importance of communicating, but I'm still not quite sure how it all fits together. So when Mindful Sparks started, it was still a little bit, you know, kind of like, it wasn't very clear what it was when we started. But over time, having, you know, speaking to people, you're part, once you're a teacher, especially in the international school scene, here in Bangkok, it's very well connected, even in Thailand as a whole. It's a really great network. And, you know, you're talking to people and you're hearing common conversations coming up, common concerns, common frustrations. And it's like, there has to be a way that we can deal with this. And that's when COVID hit, I had time. So that's when I was really able to sit down and start putting all these ideas on paper and post-it notes and whiteboards. And my front room was chaotic for a very long time, but I could begin to see that journey. And that's where, you know, Mindful Sparks in its form now kind of began.
Fantastic. I wonder, what do you feel are the major well-being challenges that students face today, and how can we support them?
I think it's I think there are some common ones. regardless if you're 3 or you're 13 or you're an older student, you're 23, you're finishing university, there are definitely some common challenges. And I think the biggest one comes down to that double-edged sword of technology. While it's a phenomenal resource, we can't deny how addictive it is. And, when you're living in places where maybe there isn't that internet security, you don't have the same parental controls that you would have in other countries, you can see the flip side of that. So I would say that's pretty prevalent regardless of your age, right? It's just the content will change, but the fact that you're constantly bombarded by information and visual and noise and movement, there isn't that time to kind of be still and just really be like, how am I doing? Like, what's happening with me? And then as you get older, you still got normal life stuff happening. You're still going through puberty. You're still working out friendships. You're still trying to navigate a very complex world. And these challenges, they show up in so many different ways. Like speaking from experience of working here in Bangkok, there's a lot of the children that go to international schools, and by no means is this, a blanket statement, but there is a big percentage of them that are raised by nannies and drivers. They are, their family has access to these resources. They're all, the family are busy, and there's a big disconnect, I think, between a lot of the children and themselves, each other. They live very well online, but when it comes to that kind of face-to-face social community building, I feel that that's a big challenge. We don't have the same communities that we used to have prior to technology, and also prior to COVID. I think even now we can still see as educators, there's still repercussions from that.
I wonder, are there any recent projects that you've found very satisfying?
There's moments, there's snapshots. I think when it comes to mindfulness, well-being, it's not like success. Sometimes we have these big moments where we're like, yes, like I've worked that bit out, or I didn't get so frustrated in that situation. But what we get is these little moments where we can see progress. Like when we're doing our training, our teacher training, when we talk to our children, we don't say mindfulness is like this. We're not just going round and round in circles. We're going in circles, but we're going up, so it might feel that like, oh, we're in this situation again. But actually it was slightly different. It wasn't as intense, or we moved out of the conflict quicker, or we were able to regulate ourselves easier. And one situation I can think of, a few months ago, we worked with a school in Hua Hin, BECC. And I was down there doing some teacher training, and I did a demo lesson from our curriculum for the teachers. There was a lot of new teachers there. And so we did just the introductory one, talking about what mindfulness is, what it looks like, ways we can practice it. And we practice what we call a mindful moment. So just sitting quietly, just taking a moment to pause, close our eyes, be still, and just check in with our thoughts, our emotions, and our body, and just kind of see where we're at. And yeah, and I kind of thought nothing of it. We did it. It was great. The kids were like, that was cool. We carried on with the day. Later that day, I'm walking around the school, and these kids come down, down a staircase. And I didn't recognize them at first, but it was the kids I did the demo lesson to in the morning. And this one kid came running up to me being like, guess what I did? And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know, I made some guesses, And they were like, I was in Thai lesson and it was so hard and I didn't know what to do. And I felt myself get angry. So I took a mindful moment. I paused, I took a breath, and then I went and asked the teacher for help instead of just being annoyed and not doing my worksheet. This kid's 6, right? And it's moments like that you're like, this one little moment isn't going to change this kid's life forever, but repeated moments like this where they can pause and be like, can I make a better decision now? Can I make a more informed decision about how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking that's going to benefit my well-being, And this kid was happy. They were like, it was still really hard, but I was able to do it. I was able to go and ask the teacher for help instead of just sitting, being annoyed and not doing anything. And it's moments like that, snapshots like that, that really make you feel good. you know?
Yeah, that's really good. It's that sort of direct feedback of the impact that you've had from the student.
Mm.
It's always really good to hear those sort of things. That's fantastic. I wonder, in your view, how important is teacher training in implementing effective mindfulness programs in schools?
I mean, it's without teacher training, you're never going to get the results that you want, right? I'm sure many teachers, myself included, can say they've worked somewhere and the school said, oh, we're going to start doing this now. Read a PDF about it, or here's a PowerPoint about it, or here's a 30-minute webinar about it, off you go. And that's it. And you're like, well, if I'm into it, if I enjoy it, if it's a subject or a topic or an approach that I like, I'm going to give a bit more. You know, I'm going to take some time out of my day and kind of research it a bit more. If it's something I'm not that interested in, I'm going to do the bare minimum to get this through. I have so many other things to be doing, you know? So it's a no-brainer that there has to be not only teacher training and meaningful teacher training, not just teacher training to be like, oh, we're implementing this, tick, we've trained the teachers, tick. It has to be teacher training that's so relevant to what you're doing. Don't bring the early years teachers in while you're teaching Key Stage 2, right? They need completely separate trainings. So not only do you need effective training at the beginning, there needs to be a buy-in to that. Why are we doing this? Why am I asking you to do this? What value is this not only going to bring to your students, but what value is this going to bring to your day? Why is this approach or strategy or, lesson beneficial to you as a teacher as well? How's that going to help? And then where's the follow-up? This is how we're going to support you with this new lesson or this new approach or this new resource. We're going to check in every half term. We'll have a check-in, or we'll have another face-to-face training at the beginning of term 2, for example. It's, if you're not putting the time in at the beginning, it's just going to filter out, right? It will fizzle out. It's not going to keep that same momentum. So teacher training, I think, needs to be looked at in such a bigger picture of not just that hour of PD. You need to look at the buy-in towards it. What happens in that PD session? And where's the support for teachers and schools afterwards,
And to really have that effective sort of focus on mindfulness in schools, and that's crucial, isn't it? Having that buy-in, very, very important for teachers. Lily, I wonder if you can perhaps share with the audience some future initiatives that you're excited about, that you've got in the pipeline.
So we have, we're reaching a point now where we are going to be reaching out to a lot more schools in the area. So we currently work with schools in Thailand, Singapore, South Korea, and soon to be Vietnam. And these have all been wonderful learning experiences, learning journeys for us. So we're working really, really hard at building up our community, our network. So we have our curriculums that we can offer to schools. We also have frameworks which are newer. So we have a conversation-based framework and a writing-based framework. They're called Mindful Conversations and Mindful Scribbles. So it isn't teaching mindfulness per se. It's using mindfulness to navigate conversation, written work, journaling, blogging, etc. And we're also going to be doing a lot more online training so we can kind of expand out a little bit more, reach more people, lots of independent training, as well as face-to-face training. And fingers crossed, hopefully later on this year, we're going to have a physical space as well, where we can start doing a lot more one-on-one, small groups, working with children, working with families, and offering just a wider variety of ways to integrate mindfulness into your day.
That's fantastic. And of course, if people are interested in these things, they'll be able to contact you through your website. Yeah.
Totally, go on the website. Everything that we offer is on there. There's obviously a contact page there on us. The contact page on there, rather. And Instagram, email, social media. Yeah.
Fantastic. Mindfulsparks.org, and we've got all of the links there in the description. Lily, it's been fantastic to catch up with you. Thanks so much for being a guest on Education Talks, and look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Have a good day.
The EdEvents community is your one-stop shop for all things happening in international education. We're partnering with events organisers, solutions providers and schools so that you can discover professional opportunities by joining for free. You can also connect with colleagues in various community groups. So sign up today by visiting the EdEvents website, ed.events.